Yeah.
Well, good evening and welcome to About the Valley. And by the way, we only have one more week. We'll be here next week and then we get the summer off. Give the
Nice.
crew a summer off.
Oh,
We come
Nice.
back after Labor Day.
Good.
And hopefully it'll be a better summer than last year was.
It was wet.
Yeah, it was a wet summer.
We're
It's not
already
starting
getting a
out good
taste.
this year either.
No, no,
Yeah.
But wasn't bad today. We had thunderstorms, but
yeah.
wasn't that bad. Didn't rain all day.
Yeah, my garden liked it.
Yeah, it was getting dry, actually.
Mhm.
A lot of dogs do not like thunder.
No, they don't. No.
But anyway, well, we're getting
We
off track
digress.
here. My guests are here tonight. We want to talk about NAMI, and there's the National Alliance of
On mental
of
illness.
mental illness. And I'm having a little time here because I have my glasses.
Would you like mine? They're in the
Or
bag.
mine.
No, I got some over there, but I don't want to go offset now.
Yeah,
But, and it's also being promoted by the Millbury Women's Club, right?
correct, yes. I'm the president, Diane Erickson, of the Millbury Women's Club, yes.
And you still have your building over there on the, behind the,
No,
Main
we have our meetings at the Asa Waters Mansion. We're very blessed.
oh, it
That was
used to
that
be
nice.
on.
Yes, yes, it was. They owned that building back in the day, and it
Yeah.
was sold, and now,
Oh,
then
I
they
didn't
used
know
to
you
do
sold
a
that.
church, and then it was now the mansion. We're very blessed to have use of the mansion.
Yeah,
Very much so.
beautiful building.
Yes, it is.
Gorgeous, gorgeous
Yeah.
building.
Hazel
Yes.
Waters lived well.
Yes, he did, yeah. And so do we in the building, too. Thanks to the town.
Right,
And
and
the
you're
friends.
the representative for the
I'm the president
president of NAMI.
National Alliance of Mental Illness of Central Massachusetts.
in Central Mass.
Yeah, so
And you're looking for a home.
We are looking for a permanent home.
Well, you got a home right now, but a small
Right.
office, but you're looking for a better place.
Mhm.
Not on a hospital campus because that's not good for your clients. And so if
For our-
anyone's
yeah,
got something
members.
out there,
That's right.
you never know. And we really need something where they'll offer it as a tax write-off for
That would be
themselves.
lovely, yeah.
Yeah,
That would
because you don't
absolutely
have a
be
lot of
lovely.
funds.
No, we do not.
And it's,
Have a lot
yeah,
of
for
funds.
nonprofits, it's very tough.
It's
It
very
is
tough
very
for
tough right
nonprofits,
now.
and we're not really in the, money-making, money-raising business.
Right.
You know, we want to help people who need the help that we have to offer, and we have tremendous number of programs.
Right, and you don't have the ability to run all these fundraisers,
Right,
Right.
which, it makes it tough.
it does. It
And
definitely
believe me,
does.
there's so many nonprofits out there that are looking for donations that it's you're very competitive. It's very hard to get.
It is very,
It
People
is.
are only gonna give out so much.
yeah.
They go broke. And with inflation today and everything else, there's less to give out. But you get anything at all from the United Way?
But not yet.
You're working
We,
on it.
we just asked somebody to be our grants person. So that person is looking around, starting the process of looking for grants that would cover the kind of thing that we want.
Right. Yeah, I had
So-
United Way people on here in the past.
Yeah.
And they do a good job.
They're a great organization, yeah.
Yes.
And they do have a lot of money.
Yeah, they do.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
do.
But
They
they
do
also
very
use
well.
it with,
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
lot of
Yeah.
other organizations.
Yeah.
Right.
But we just have to, find the organizations that would grant what we're looking for.
Right, we want to get into that.
Yeah.
What service do you actually offer? That's what I want to get people to hear.
All right, we have, everything we offer is free.
That's a key factor right
Yes,
there.
it is, it is. We have support groups, we have one meets twice a month that is for adult loved ones of individuals.
Right.
We believe in you are not alone, and so coming to a support group really does offer the kind of support that, brothers, sisters, mothers, and so on
Right.
need, because mental illness is a family disease.
Yes,
It affects everybody. and the
it can be
family.
very trying on a family.
Absolutely.
Especially if it's an older sibling that younger, they're taken care of. The parent dies, or the parent's gone, now it's up to them. Because that person really can't do it on their own.
Right, right. And we have other support groups for parents and caregivers of school-aged children.
Ah,
Because it's very difficult to put the two groups together because
Right.
the issues are different. And then we have a number of courses. We have one called Family to Family, which again is, again, they're all free. That's for the group who have adult family members, friends, who suffer from mental illness. And the course teaches about the mental illness, how to communicate with somebody who has a mental illness, what some of the medications are, what the side effects of those medications are, because dislike of the side effects is probably the number one reason that
Yeah, they don't wanna take
people
their medication.
don't want to take it. And then, of course, they don't take it, and
yeah, and
They
then,
have
then they have
another
problems.
episode, yeah.
Yes, yeah,
And then we have a course called NAMI Basics, which is learning about children's issues. It's for
Right.
parents of the children's. That's a separate course. And we're hoping in the spring, when we can have somebody trained to do the work, a support group for veterans, because that's really important. And
Yeah.
we are adding parents and loved ones of autistic individuals to our parent support group and our family support group.
Oh. No, mental illness has gone through quite a few changes over the last, say, 50 or 60 years. You know, we did, back in the early 70s, started closing the institutions.
Mm-hmm,
With the promise of wraparound services in the
Yes.
community.
yeah.
Well, they closed the institutions and did not provide the wraparound services.
Right, and then it kind of left them out in the cold, the people that needed
Absolutely.
help.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And that's.
It's very difficult.
That's what brought on a lot of the homeless situation.
Correct, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
And you also have the problem of the dual diagnosis. So many people with mental illness try to heal themselves, so they try to cope with the mental illness
Mhm.
by using a substance. So then
Right.
you have the substance abuse issue as well as the mental health issue. And for the longest time, they were treating these separately.
I shut this off, how the heck? God. Now we're gonna
Mine's
have
on
to.
too.
And it's
Mine's
another,
on too.
it's another spam call.
Yeah.
Get them all day.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so anyway, yeah, I mean, a lot of people say closing the institutions was bad, but it was not a good place for them either.
No, it was
No.
terrible. I mean,
Yeah,
they,
and they weren't getting any better, they weren't getting any help.
no, they were draconian institutions.
Yeah. I mean,
Definitely.
It was just, keep them under control, basically.
Sedated,
Yeah,
Yeah,
often
keep 'em sedated.
sedated.
yeah,
Keep them from
Right.
acting up.
right.
Yep.
What,
And the conditions were terrible.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah,
I can remember performing, I was a dancer amongst other things, performing at the mental hospital, the state hospital in Trenton, New Jersey, which is where I'm from. And I've never so frightened in my life. You know, it was just terrible, terrible place. So, let's turn my phone off.
there you go.
Yeah, so anyway, we were hoping that was a turn in the right direction, but then again, the outpatient care wasn't there.
No,
Right.
it wasn't there. And of course, that's what was promised.
Yes,
And I think, I'm probably in the minority, but I think, recovery is possible from a
Yes.
mental illness.
yes, there are people that have, I know people that did recover.
And there are people who take their medication and they function
Yes,
very well in society. You know,
but, if you came out of an institution, that stigma's gonna be on you for the rest of your life. no matter what you do.
Well,
So-
and it's very
it's
difficult
better
to
that we
cope
got-
with,
yeah, we got rid
being
of
out.
that.
Yeah,
If
one
you-
from an area that's protected, and then you have.
Right,
Yeah.
Right.
right, where everything's done for you, and
Right.
suddenly,
Yes.
you know, you
Yeah.
have to do everything on your own, including get your medication,
Right.
which is a whole other, issue.
And when you get out on the street, it's a lot simpler to just go with the illegal drug situation. It's a good temporary fix,
Yeah,
but doesn't cure.
No,
well,
And-
I'm not sure anything cures. I think both addiction and mental illness, we say you can recover, but
Right.
it's something you have to work on.
Yes.
You don't want to slide back into an
And
addiction.
that's where you need somebody helping you. Someone supporting you and working with you.
Mm-hmm.
And for a family, that can be tough.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. And the workers are so overworked,
Yes.
and they don't have enough staffing at most of the agencies. So
They don't pay very well
No, they don't. I remember
for what you have to do.
I'm part of the mayor's mental health task force, and the very first meeting we had, the question was thrown out there, how do we get people to stay in the field? And I looked around thinking to myself, that can't be a serious question. I said,
Right.
pay them.
Yeah.
I mean, they are doing work that not everybody can do.
Exactly.
You have to be a certain kind of person to be able to
Oh.
have the compassion to be
Yeah.
able to do
The
it.
compassion and the patience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so if you paid decent, you'd get good people,
That's right.
and they would stay
And they
at
would
the
stay.
profession.
Yeah, they would stay.
But here again, I think this is government funding, and sometimes they look in the wrong direction.
A lot of it is government funding. Massachusetts has, just passed some important, legislation
I
which
saw
will
that.
lead to
yeah,
greater funding
Oh.
for mental health. Okay? I mean, we like to say, mental health is health.
Right. Well, it is.
Yeah,
I mean, we don't perceive it as a physical problem, but it is. It's a problem
Right.
in the brain.
yeah,
right,
Just 'cause you can't-
exactly, exactly.
You can't see it. I mean, if you're gonna.
Right, it tends to be an invisible disease.
Right. But it's no different than having heart palpitations,
correct.
even papillary, MS or
Sure.
muscular dystrophy, anything like that. The brain is just another organ in the body, and it gets diseased.
Right, exactly. And there's been very little money offered to research into mental illness. It's
Right.
better now, but it has been really underfunded.
Do you think a lot of the research has come about because of Alzheimer's? And
I think
COVID.
some
yeah,
of it,
COVID's an example.
yeah, I think
because
some of it,
it's almost epidemic.
Yeah,
Alzheimer's, oh yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
becoming
So-
more so.
Because people are living longer, I think.
yeah,
Almost everybody is probably susceptible to it. But the longer you live, the more likely you're gonna get it. It's like cancer, the longer you live, the more likely you're gonna get it.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm sure some of the studies that are being done for Alzheimer will have a certain impact on mental illness. But there's a
Right.
lot of research going on for mental illness now. I just read something that came out that they think there might be some connection, not causal necessary, but a connection between inflammation in the
Ah.
body and depression.
I believe that's true. I think inflammation causes a lot of problems. I was just watched a program, I read an article somewhere, about how cancer is brought on from inflammation. And a lot of that comes on by our diets.
No, well, yeah.
Yeah,
That's a whole other,
That's a whole
Yeah.
other discussion.
yeah, that's a whole
Yeah.
other
Right.
Yeah,
discussion. But,
But yeah,
yeah,
you're right. If you bring on any kind of inflammation, and inflammation in the brain would be the same as having an inflammation in your muscles.
well, they're not even saying that the inflammation is in the brain, but that there's inflammation somewhere in the system that
Right.
affects, I'm not a scientist, that affects, some part of some, like subglial cell
Right.
that, responds, the antibodies go out and try to chase it away.
Yeah.
And that might have something to do with depression.
I
So
think that's,
it's-
I think there's a positive
This is a
factor.
study out of Australia.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, even, if you just get sick with the flu or something, you're depressed.
You can be, but that tends to be a different depression. I mean,
Right.
that is,
because I like the theory that if depression can be sometimes that if you stay in bed for the I don't want to go out, I want to just stay in bed. But it's when it happens,
when you,
it's continuous.
it is not that you don't want to get out of bed, it's you
Yeah.
cannot get yourself out of bed.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, I'm a big believer in, you gotta stay busy and keep your life going. I'll be 76 next week.
I got you beat.
Little I too.
But you're doing like I'm doing, you got a reason to get out of bed every morning, you got a reason to get up. I still work, and you got a reason, because it'd be so easy to just, lay in bed, I'm not gonna do anything today. And then that becomes a habit.
I don't find that easy.
No, it's very
No, but I
I've
mean-
just been.
But-
I'm
Because
too
you
busy.
have a reason.
Yeah.
But if you don't have a reason,
Then I make one.
yeah.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
And it can actually fall into that position if you lose a spouse.
You can, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you have no family around. And today, a lot of family, when the kids grow up, they get jobs in other parts of the
Yeah, I
country.
don't have any family around.
Right, it's quite
Yeah.
common.
Yeah, yeah, very
So
much
if
so.
you
I
have
come
no
from a
one-
very small family anyway.
So unless you got a good, circle of friends, you really have no one.
Mm,
You can fall into that quite easily.
mm.
And that can become mental illness.
I'm not sure
Yeah, I
that
think-
I agree with that. I
Too
don't
much,
think
yeah.
that the studies, I think, like, let's say you lose a partner, it can become real depression, let's say after 6 weeks, 10 weeks,
Right.
if you haven't started, to
Move on.
but I'm not somebody who believes you get over the loss. I believe that you
You learn to
you
live with
put
it.
yeah, it's with you always, but you go on with it.
Right.
Yeah, it's all part of.
But in most cases, what you're dealing with, people that have had onset early in life.
Some early, some late. We have some people who come to the support group. One woman's husband was in his late 50s. What
Can it be
happened?
brought on by their work or?
Not that we know. I mean, we don't really know exactly. We don't know how much is, a genetic. We don't know, how much is trauma.
Huh.
How
Yeah.
much is diet, let's say. I mean, there are just so
Right.
many components to it that they really haven't figured out, what causes it.
And
But
that's-
it's not the mother.
No, it's not the way I agree. And that's how I got involved with my Millbury Women's Club, because I went to a NAMI conference put on by I'm part of the General Federation of Women's Clubs. And we said, this is something our children are going through in the school system. They need help, because the ladies that were talking to us were in their 30s, and they said it started when they were 8, 9, 10, 13
Wow.
in schools.
Yep.
So we figured that we had to bring this. I talked to the superintendent. We brought NAMI in, and they had the different teachers and the child herself. She was at university or college, I believe. She was at college. And for the teachers, and the teachers came and they said it was the best thing.
Sure.
Because, so, to sort of give the teachers tools, so this is how we came about. We would sponsor professionals to come in to the schools, to not to teach, but to help the teachers with the tools, and the staff the tools to able to,
To cope with
Cope-
these children in their
cope
classes.
with the children in the classrooms.
Do you think that social media is a big problem with the school?
I would say anxiety, I would say a little bit, yes, very much
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, I mean, when we do a table, we have information on social media.
Yeah,
Again, it doesn't cause mental illness, but it creates an awful lot of anxiety in young people.
exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
because they try to match the unrealistic, levels,
The
that are
expectations of
placed
what's
upon them.
expected, yeah.
Yeah, it's enabled a lot of bullying.
And that was what my next thing, because
Yeah,
it enables bullying, keeping the
Right.
secret.
Well,
But
not
a
only
child-
that, it allows bullying for 24 hours a day.
And trust me, those children remember the bullies when they're in
Yeah.
their 30s, they do.
and a number of children, as they call them, commit suicide as a result of
Very
it.
much so.
That's a real
If
problem.
we feel that in Millbury we've stopped one child from committing suicide
Right.
or doing the
Right.
inevitable, it's worth every penny.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Absolutely.
agree. I mean, that's the big problem. When I went to school, you didn't have social media, so if you had a bully in school, when you went home, they were gone.
Yeah.
Now, it follows you.
Or somebody pounded them out at school.
Right, right, but now with the
Hopefully.
social media,
Hopefully.
and probably the biggest thing with kids is to be accepted
Sure, by their peers.
by their peers,
Yeah.
right? And with bullying, with the social media, you can be rejected, and that brings on a depression.
Well, more likely anxiety, and then
Yeah.
sometimes depression,
Yeah,
and
there's,
then,
there's no way out,
Right,
nobody to talk to.
and, right. No, and so, we encourage the school systems to make
Yes.
sure there are people they can talk to. Kids will talk to someone they trust.
how do you go about, though, you letting the kid know there's someone they can talk to?
I think I was a high school English teacher for 35 years. So, and the kids used to gather in my room after school.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
But you had to do an outreach to get them to do that, didn't you? I mean, they didn't do it
No.
automatically, did they?
One would come in after school and say, I'm feeling punk. So-and-so is picking on me. And so we would talk and stuff.
Right. When I was in
And
high school,
then
I
if
never
it was
felt
right,
that way.
then another, would come along until there was a group. And you have to be accepting. I was
There's always
accepting
one
of the
teacher, I'm
kids.
sure, in a school of their of their grade.
I used to tell the kids, I don't care if you're white, black, green, purple,
Right.
doesn't matter. It's how you behave. What your character is. And
But
if
you
I
would tell
don't,
them that in class.
I would tell them. I don't. I don't grade you. I grade your papers.
But you would tell them in class. So when I went to school, there was a barrier between the teacher and the students.
Well, there was a bit
There
of it.
were
My
also-
students came in. I always remember my freshmen, sitting there because they'd heard about Mrs. Bahr Casey. And they'd come in, they'd be really afraid because I was very strict, very strict, but human.
Right.
I was demanding of their work.
I think that makes the best teachers because they're going to be demanded to do a good job when they get out in the real world. You learn that firsthand. I think that's the best. The best.
Well, I used to say to them, I have to prepare you. You're
Right.
not all going to be English scholars, but I've got to prepare you to go out there. So
But
don't
it-
tell me you
Oh.
couldn't get your homework done last night. tell your boss and imagine what he's going to say.
Exactly,
And
right.
and not only that, when people reflect back on their lives, they always remember their first teacher that was accepting of them too.
It was
Yes.
accepting.
Yes.
Yeah,
I mean, I loved the kids, so that was
Yeah.
not a problem. Even the ones that drove me nuts. Yeah.
I mean, I do these TV shows, I do radio, I write a monthly column in a magazine. And I never went to college, but you know what? Back in school, I had good English teachers
Mhm.
that really taught me, because I wouldn't be able to do that today, but they taught me well. I remember doing a lot of diagramming. Remember, did you do
I
diagramming?
remember that. I was
Yeah.
always in the experimental grade. You know, can they speak well and write well without having to do the diagramming? So I was never big on
Well,
diagramming. I
yeah.
learned how to do it, obviously.
My ninth grade teacher was big on diagramming.
Yeah,
But now I can construct a sentence.
yeah.
I know a difference between an adjective and an adverb. But, it really, when you think back.
Well, I used to tell the kids, read it out loud.
Yeah.
If
That's
you can't understand it,
right.
nobody else is going to be able to understand
Actually,
it.
Oh,
I
yeah,
like that. Yeah, I like
that's the
that.
most important. I mean, I get done a column, I read it all. I say, oh my God, I made a mistake.
But you have to read it out loud,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because otherwise you assume that you said it correctly.
Yeah,
You know,
Sometimes you write how you feel, and it doesn't come across on the paper.
right.
right. But, yeah, the teachers are very important in
Yes.
our lives.
Very much.
There's no respect for them anymore.
No,
There
not
really
like
isn't.
they used to be. And the thing is.
I don't
that-
mean, bowing to or anything like that, but there's so many kids just think, teachers are. I had a kid say to me one day, I said something in the class, he said, "You're not our friend." I said, "That's right." I
yeah,
said,
but
"The
and you're not there to
administration's
be a
not
friend."
paying me to be your friend, they're paying
Right.
me to be your teacher. And
Yeah.
besides, how bizarre if, I'm 60 and you're 16. It's not likely we're going to be best friends.
Right.
Like that. But he was so surprised. I'm like,
That-
no, I'm not.
Well, that goes back to the Greek philosophers when they taught. They were not friends with their students.
No,
They were there to teach them. And that's the way it should be.
right. It doesn't mean you can't understand them. It doesn't mean you can't
Right.
joke with them. It doesn't mean that once they've graduated, you can't become friends. I have friends who were former students, but they're
Yeah.
adults and I'm an adult now.
Right, yeah, now it's okay, you're right,
Yeah.
exactly. Especially if you have the ones that come back and are teachers.
Oh, but they're not.
No, that happens though,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
but, we're getting off subject, but,
we certainly are.
yeah, we tend to do that, but it makes it more interesting.
Okay.
If we kept on the same subject all through the whole
Mhm.
hour, people would be bored and turn off.
Yeah.
But anyway,
But then, yeah. so-
Diane and the Women's Club have,
Yeah, you're here
we
to
say
really
they've adopted us.
Yes, we have. Yes. Yeah.
But it's very important what you're doing because there was no support out there, was there?
There's very little.
Very little.
I mean, there are organizations that do a wonderful job.
Um,
But you had to find them, and
Yeah, and we provide, there are the three main things that we do, which is education, support, and advocacy.
Ah.
So, those are the things we believe in, and those are the things we try to act on.
and do you lobby as well at the legislature and the Congress to give more support?
Yeah, I would say the actual people who lobby are more likely to be from the state organization.
Yeah.
But we certainly do contact our representatives.
Which your organization does it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That's very important because you need to get the funding.
Yeah,
And for our town, our state senator is very supportive of the program. Very much
and
so.
where I am in Worcester, Senator Robin Kennedy
Ah.
is also very supportive.
Yeah.
She's a former student.
Yes. I know of
She's
her.
in trouble right now. Yeah.
We had Senator oh, God, I forgot his name. Well, Ryan
Yeah,
Fatman's our senator
from
right now,
Sutton, yeah,
from Millbury
right.
as well.
Uh,
Well,
Moore?
no, Millbury is,
Michael Moore.
Michael Moore. I know
He's
Michael Moore,
very
because he used to be
supportive.
Yes.
Michael
yes.
Moore was
Very
our senator here
supportive.
as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
We
yes.
had both him and Ryan Fatman,
Yeah.
but then they
They
realigned it again.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
He took, Senator Moore took over part of Westboro, I think, if not all of Westboro,
And some of Worcester, I believe.
and part of Worcester,
Yeah.
Yeah, part of Worcester.
Yes.
But he comes to, there was a
Auburn. Maybe
mental
it's
health
Auburn.
conversation
Yeah.
that was held in
Yeah.
Worcester, and he was there.
Yeah. Very smart.
Robin was there too.
Yeah.
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 Well, I'm sure he's experienced he knows the situations that are out there, but he used to work for the jail.
Yes, he did.
And, you know, a lot of those people are there because of mental illness.
That's right.
Yeah.
We've been pushing and pushing and pushing, and I think we finally are, either it's there or, you know, we're a minuscule portion of an inch away for a mental health court in Worcester. They have the
Oh.
drug court,
Yeah.
and we want a mental health court.
Now,
It's very important.
Yeah.
the sheriff is doing more with mental health too, isn't he?
Evangelitis.
Yes.
That's what he tells us.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know him as well, and he seems more involved in that, not just handling a prisoner, but why are they there? And how we can help them so they don't come back. He's worked out some job programs with the chamber.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's something else that we're starting to work on, which is, you know, a reentry program.
Yeah, very important, because
Yeah.
if you get back out and you got nowhere to go, you're gonna be
Except
back
back
in.
to the
Right.
Yeah.
groups that got you in trouble in the first place. Yeah.
I like to tell a story. I was in the courthouse where my car got broken into when I was there to see what happened. Anyway,
Worcester Court?
yeah, this is a long time ago.
Yeah.
God, it was about probably 40 years ago. And there was a guy there, and he didn't speak English, he only spoke Spanish, and he went to an interpreter. And the judge, he had been convicted of stealing a carton of cigarettes. So the judge says, well, this is November. I'm not gonna put you in jail, he says to the guy, and the interpreter tells him in Spanish, I'm not putting you in jail because I have no room. And the guy got upset, he goes, no, he tells the interpreter, the judge is gonna send me to jail because I have no place to go for the winter.
Wow.
And I saw that, I
That
said,
is so
that's
sad.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
That is
it's
so sad.
But that's a case, you know, that's one scenario I'm talking about from 40 years ago, but that's still going on.
Yeah. Especially for homeless people too.
Right.
You know, they have somewhere to.
Yeah, he wanted a place where he'd get 3 meals a day and a warm place to sleep.
Mm.
And a lot else that he probably wouldn't want.
Yeah.
Right, right.
So,
He was willing
yeah.
to live
Yeah.
with that, just to have a
Yeah.
place to go.
Very much so.
It's sad. Yeah, but we really do try to support the families,
Yes.
you know, and educate the families, because that is so important.
And that's what we're going to be trying to do too, is, you know, we're not educators, we're just trying to spread the word,
Yeah.
Right.
stopping the stigma
Stopping the stigma.
of mental health.
And, you know, there's a lot of self-stigma with mental illness, too. You know, people, you know, question their own worth. You know, I am.
But that's true with any illness. People get sick, they don't want to admit to it in some cases.
To me, it's very different.
Right, I mean, it's more so. I mean, yeah, you've got a much stronger stigma. But I know people get cancer that don't want to say they got cancer. Because they
Maybe
just-
there's denial.
Yeah, it's a
Well, there's certainly
thing.
denial involved in families with,
Yeah, with
you know,
mental illness.
members who have mental illness.
Right,
And that prevents there's this absolutely tiny proportion of people with mental illness who actually seek treatment. And
Right.
1 out of every 5
and
persons
that's
in the
worse now.
country.
Now it's only gonna get worse.
It is,
instead of
it's
better.
not 1 out of every 5. It's not quite 1 out of every 4, but it's getting there. You know, And COVID did a terrible job
Yeah.
on people. You know, anybody who, let's say, had a minor mental illness, if there is such a thing, I'm not sure there is. COVID made it worse.
Well, now, you know, I go for physical every 6 months. I'm diabetic, but I'm not bad. But anyway, I always ask the question, have you ever been depressed? And the other mental questions, so they are looking at things now.
They are
Yes.
doing that more. Yeah,
Now,
they
I don't know
are.
if they only do that because I'm on Medicare, I'm over 65 days, is that why they, because I don't remember them
I
asking
believe
that.
it's the questions that Medicare.
Yeah, there are
they
lots
have
of
to
questions,
ask.
right,
Yes.
that Medicare has
Yeah.
insisted upon.
Stipulated.
Right,
But they want to do the same thing with children in school.
Yes.
yes, I'm saying, to be asking those questions for younger people.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
about,
even for
young
children,
adults, even, you know, people who aren't on Medicare. Medicare requires it, so they have to ask it, but we should be asking it for everyone.
Yeah. Exactly. Right.
The way to identify if people have a
Right.
mental illness.
Absolutely. You know, because the earlier, it's, again, like most illnesses, the earlier it's identified, the earlier somebody gets treatment, and therefore the outcomes are better.
Yeah, because especially you may have a problem and not even realize it, because no one asks.
I mean, it's possible. You
Yeah.
might want, you know,
And you might think the parents might be in denial a little
Oh,
bit
yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
in my family, no. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
so often that's
Right.
the attitude.
Yeah, so here again now, when you get younger people, the parent should be asked the question, do they act depressed at any time, or they act out of the ordinary? Because they're.
Oh, well, yes, I mean, I remember when I was teaching, I knew that there were kids in my class who were suffering, you know, they were just sad day in and day out and so
Yeah.
on.
So
They
you
didn't
saw
do
it.
their work. I saw a lot of it. And I remember going to the guidance department and saying, you know, if kids come to you and you find out that you have, you know, kids have depression, send them to me. I have depression. They would never know it.
Right.
You know, I'm treated for it. You know, and we always say, you know, it's a roller coaster.
Yes, it is.
It's a real roller coaster.
And here, we don't know how the brain works. So we don't know why this is brought on, and it is a physical situation.
At least partially,
Partially,
yeah.
yes.
Or the environment that you're in can trigger something.
Well, childhood trauma is,
Yeah.
you know, it's
Yes.
devastating for the rest of that person's life. It really is.
Oh, yeah, if you have a traumatic experience, you're gonna remember it till the day you die.
Yeah, and it can, we think of soldiers, you know,
Yes.
or Army
PTSD.
nurses or so, coming back with PTSD. But there are so many others who suffer from PTSD. You know, you live in a neighborhood where you see somebody get shot.
Yep,
You can wind up with PTSD. It doesn't have to happen to you or your immediate
right.
surroundings.
Or even someone getting beaten badly, or.
Yeah, and right.
Or being bullied.
Or a car accident.
Or
Yeah.
being bullied.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, being bullied's a big factor.
oh yeah.
Big,
I mean,
big factor.
And I think it's come out more and so now today than it's ever been. And here again, back to social media.
Yeah, it's just constant.
I mean, when I had a kid in my class when I was in the 7th grade that did commit suicide. I still remember that quite well. And it was from depression.
Although, statistically, it's interesting. When someone is in the depths of depression, they're not likely to commit suicide because they don't have enough energy to do it.
Right.
It's in that stage where they're just starting to feel better and have more energy that they will,
Right.
you know, commit suicide.
Well,
They've planned it before, but,
He had stayed back a year,
uh-huh.
and that really put him in a bad state. He hung himself.
Yeah.
I think we all can bring up examples of
And,
that.
you know, I mean, I still remember that quite well. That was a heck of a long time ago.
So it affected you somewhat too,
Yeah.
Yeah.
to this day.
Well, you think about it all the time.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I don't care who you no teen that gets through those years without having some kind of a problem.
Well, it's hormonal too. You're going through those ups
Right.
and downs of hormones.
Yeah,
And
it's
I think
imbalance.
lots of
It's all
times
the
that's what
imbalance.
parents say,
Yeah.
oh, you know, it's teenager, they're up and down and up and down. But it's different.
Yeah.
If there's a real mental
Yeah.
illness there, it's different.
And that's what the parents and everybody needs to know, that there is a difference between
Yeah,
the
the parents,
hormonal
they don't
balances.
realize that it's a problem because they think it's just normal.
And by then they're in their 20s,
Yeah,
and then they're starting having issues. Yeah, then they need help.
And it's happening to younger and younger
Yeah.
kids. And the other thing is, a lot of doctors will not offer a diagnosis until an individual is 18 years old.
oh,
Because, you know, up to that age, there's so much change that goes on that they hesitate to put the label on, because, you know,
think it'll
labels
make it worse?
labels themselves can be very destructive.
right.
You know, whether it's from a teacher or, you know, the parents, and they're treated differently and so on. But the other side of it is, if there isn't a diagnosis, they can't work with medication or therapy, talk therapy, you know.
But we're talking more about it,
We are.
so that's gonna.
And the kids are talking much more about it, which
Yeah.
I think is a good thing.
Yeah.
Right, so the more you talk about it, the less the stigma is gonna be there.
We hope.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
think. I mean,
And you have to be culturally sensitive too, because there are cultures in which it's not accepted at all.
that is really, yeah, that's true right there, yes.
Yeah. And, you know, I mean, it's like our society was, when you think of the literature that was written, I always think of Jane Eyre, you know, where Rochester had the crazy wife locked in the attic.
Mhm. And that's what they used to do back in the day.
Exactly.
Yes,
Hide,
Exactly. And, you know, some cultures think that the person has been visited by the devil.
well, yeah, that was quite common, they were
It's
possessed.
still,
Yeah, yes.
it still is in some cultures.
Brought on a lot of hangings in Salem.
Certainly did. And those were the people who were targeted. They were different.
Yep,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep. They talked to themselves. Or something that was sufficient reason to hang somebody.
and, you know, if you go back, remember back in the early part of the last century, you could actually get someone committed to an institution just on your word,
Mm-hmm.
which, it might be you the one that had the problem, not them, but you said, oh, okay, and the judge said, okay, yeah, we're gonna commit them.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, you could bring them in.
Can't do that now.
No, but you could bring them in yourself.
Yeah.
Horrible situation. So we've grown anyway. We've gotten
Yeah.
out of a lot of that.
And we try to train the police too.
Yes. Yeah, they're the first responders
Crisis,
that run into it.
yeah, the crisis intervention team. And there are some police departments who aren't too big on that, but they can be wonderful. You know, they don't come with the sirens blazing and the lights blazing. They know how to speak to someone who's in crisis.
Right.
They can be really helpful.
Yeah, I know there's a movement to have social workers with police.
I think it's a great
Yeah.
idea
It is.
to have them on a phone call.
Because, well,
When
yeah,
when my daughter was sectioned, the police officer went and took the therapist with her, and the therapist did the assessing.
yeah,
My daughter, the police didn't do that, and
yeah, because one of the major situations they run into is domestic problems.
the police run into
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're not trained to handle domestic situations.
Well, they are if it's just
To a certain
just
extent.
violence, you know.
Yeah, keep the violence
But if
down.
there's a, you know,
Domestic
if there's
violence,
a, yeah, if there's a problem with, you know, substance abuse and mental illness,
Right,
or both, they need somebody who's trained to deal with that. But of course, the CIT officers are trained. You know, I mean, that's why it's such a good group.
yes.
Yeah.
But that shows that we're starting to learn that we have to look at situations from a different view.
Yeah. What is the saying? Help, not handcuffs.
Ah,
I know one of the things that that he had talked about was also doing places where people can go and sit and talk with somebody. And they were talking like putting like a blue flag up, I think it was a cross or something, in different areas, like in a emergency room, not emergency room, but where the ambulances hang out, the EMTs that are on permanent staff. You know, somewhere where somebody who's in crisis and they can't talk to anybody could find somewhere that they can talk to somebody.
Oh, yeah.
That would be something that to be able to be work
And then,
on.
yeah, and there's the other whole problem, because it's the unusual police force or fire department that tends to the mental difficulties of its own forces. You know, they're considered weak. But when you think of what they see day in and day out,
Oh,
they need some place and someone they can talk to.
Decompress.
Yes.
But they're afraid to, because they'll lose their jobs.
right.
So that's a whole other, so we have somebody who might become a member of our board of directors, who is a firefighter, who's very active in speaking to fire departments and police departments about the necessity of allowing their forces to, you know, speak to somebody. You know, that it's not a weakness when you think of.
And it's confidential.
Yeah,
to a
that it would
point,
be
yeah.
confidential,
Yeah.
and
Well, I mean, they're in situations where they see people at their worst situation.
absolutely.
I mean, and if you have to deal, especially if you gotta deal with death, and especially if you have to deal with death of a child.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's gonna be the worst.
This man who does all of this said that, you know, I mean, he saw a child die, and he had to, I mean, he just cried and cried and cried and cried. Now, I guess his superiors,
Well, you can
We're
probably, you know,
okay.
you only build up so much, and if after a while, it's gonna just, you gotta get it out.
that's why they need to talk to somebody.
Right.
They can't just keep bottling it up. Otherwise, you know, they become trigger happy.
Yes.
And like that, I mean, they just blow.
Yeah.
So, you know, there are a lot of areas where mental health is overlooked,
Yes.
even today.
But we're probably only 100 years away from mental health being,
Locked away.
yeah,
Yeah.
locked away. I mean,
Right.
we're not that far into the future with it.
Right.
But if we can get somebody on the moon,
Right.
we
Yeah.
can progress.
Exactly.
We can progress.
Well,
Yeah.
it's a matter of priorities. Yeah.
Isn't
I
that
mean,
true? Yeah.
We're 50 years away from people doing lobotomies,
Yep.
which we found.
Electrical treatment
Electrical shock, that was,
or the ice
Well, they
baths.
still use electrical shock, but it's a very different
yeah, it's a very different way.
procedure
but
now.
Back then, they would try to make you forget, right? Come on.
Or the ice. I think it was ice baths that they used to do something like that before. I don't know.
Yeah.
Something cruel. I know that.
I mean, there are different approaches now
Yeah.
to, particularly, you know, depression, things like that. I mean, you have the TMS,
Mhm.
the magnetic things on the
Yes.
head, which works very well for some people. And there's ECT, they still do.
Well, like I said, we just don't know that much about the brain
Right.
to know how things happen. some organs, they got them pretty well down pat, they know how things work out and what can affect them, but we don't know what affects the brain.
No, I think they're finding out more and more.
Yeah, we're learning more all the time.
Right, and now they can actually look at the brain with the
Yeah.
sophisticated machinery that we have.
The
which is
MRI,
The MRI, yeah,
Yeah.
CAT scan, you know,
yeah,
But
all
they
of those
can't-
things.
But they can't get into the function of your life,
Right,
yeah,
Yeah.
which is part of who we are as a person.
yeah. You talk about, I had an MRI because I had a pinched nerve. But then when I had it, they found out that I had a series of mini strokes. Didn't know it. I didn't even know I had a stroke.
yeah,
But now I'm on medication, I have a cardiologist, but, I mean, they didn't know, there was no way of knowing that.
no, but those TIAs are,
Yeah.
yeah, people just, you
So,
know,
I mean, that's, like I say.
so you feel dizzy for a minute, you know.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
yeah,
But you never think of it. You have it when you're sleeping.
mm-hmm,
Yeah,
You don't even know you had one.
right,
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 If it's
Yeah.
severe, you don't wake up.
Yeah, well, yeah.
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 But that's what I'm saying, we don't understand how the brain works. We don't know.
Not enough yet.
Not enough, no, we've got a
Not
long
enough.
way to go.
Yeah, long way.
Which gets back to funding.
Yeah, so that's what I want to get to right now, because
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
look at the clock and we're getting, so you're looking to raise funds. How would people make a donation?
They can make a donation to,
You have a website?
we do, NAMIcentralmass.org,
Yeah, it's NAMI, which is
National Alliance on Mental Illness.
NAMI.org.
No, NAMIcentralmass.org.
Okay. NAMIcentralmass.org.
Yes,
And you can make a donation right online.
you can make a donation online. Hmm.
But do you have any fundraisers of any kind coming up? Or?
Well, we just had our big one, which is the walk, NAMI Walks,
Ah,
in Boston.
oh, okay.
And all the affiliates
Are you
are
going to have one
involved.
around here in Central Mass?
I would love to. I mean,
You
that's
know,
something
know
I
the
would like.
Alzheimer's do.
Yes, they do. They have a big one. It takes a lot of manpower to get it
Oh, yeah.
organized. Right now, we're a little small. I'm planting the seed in Boston's ear to
Yeah.
see whether or not.
Fundraising takes a lot of work.
Oh, yeah.
And you need really dedicated
Yeah.
people.
We had NAMI night at Polar Park, where we got
Oh, that's
Yeah.
a great
for
move.
the
Yeah.
Woosocks, so we get a very small portion of the
But at least it's a
ticket
help.
sales.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that tickets we sell. Yeah,
Yeah,
so that helps. And we're thinking of, some other things that.
approaching some
that
of
we
the other
could
sports
do.
teams in Worcester, like the Railers or,
Oh, I suppose, yeah, I wasn't even thinking of that at the point, but we're thinking about different ways
right.
to raise funds. We just don't want the fundraising to become the main thing that we do. I mean,
Right.
it's that
Right, right,
education,
but-
support, and advocacy that we are based on.
Right. I did a lot of fundraising for the American Legion here,
Did you?
and so I know, but you need it to survive. But you don't want to make it the only thing you do, because, God, you can get wrapped up in it.
Right.
And it becomes
Right.
the end of everything, and you just lose sight.
And
Right.
yeah, and if
Of
you
who
want
you
somebody who fundraises as a profession, then you have to pay them
Yes.
in order to do
Yeah,
it,
then-
which
then-
somewhat defeats the purpose.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, a portion of what you finally get ends up going out.
yeah.
Now,
So,
you were at the expo,
yes, we were.
yeah. Were you there with NAMI? I didn't get a
Yes,
chance
we
to walk
were.
through it because I was
Yeah,
tied
I-
up my own booth.
Right, we were across from you, actually. We
Yeah.
were NAMI Central Mass, and we shared a booth with the Women's Club in
Yeah.
Millbury.
Yeah, we shared it. Next year, we'll give you your own. I'll give you your own. So you
Thank
have
you,
your
you'll be
booth.
next door.
Yeah, right
Did
next
you get a
door.
good response there?
A lot of people, took
Stop by.
material and were
Yeah.
interested in what we have to do, but you just never know what
Right.
that's going to.
We were trying to reach the parents too.
Right.
And that's the whole thing. But we met a lot of bus drivers.
No, this is something
School
that.
bus drivers.
This is
school
something
bus
Diane,
drivers,
yeah.
Yes, and I came away from that expo thinking we should approach bus drivers because they're the
The
first
school
line.
bus drivers, yeah.
School bus
Yeah.
drivers, they're the first
They
line.
see these kids every day.
Every day, and they know right from the start and they see them for like 3 years, and then when they go up to the next level,
Right.
yes,
I
they
was
see
thinking
them.
we should have the crossing guards at the same time.
That'd be good.
Yeah,
I don't know if we have
because-
any in Millbury, but
I don't know.
But hey,
We do in Worcester.
We do in Worcester a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a whole area that we could get into, you know.
They actually develop a lot of relationships
With the kids.
with
Yes,
kids.
Sure they do.
They're with them every day.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and they know that what child eventually may have issues and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Giving them the tools to cope, you know, and to help.
Maybe what you need to do is work with the school departments.
Well,
Which
we
is what-
are.
Yeah,
you
what
know,
I am, yeah, that's
Yeah.
what we do, yeah.
Yeah, and I've met with the superintendent of Millbury Schools, the superintendent of the Oxford Public Schools, and I have a meeting next week with someone in the Worcester Public Schools.
Great.
Yeah,
Yes.
trying to get in there for a long time.
That would be
And it's the
great.
new
Yeah,
But you know, the
superintendent.
chamber has an organization that works with the schools. We talked to Jeannie about that. Jeannie Hebert? She's
yeah,
the-
I'm not familiar, how do they work
Oh,
with
Jeannie's the
schools?
president of Chamber of Commerce.
Yes, I know that, yeah.
And,
The Millbury Chamber?
No, the
No,
Blackstone
Blackstone
Valley.
Valley.
Blackstone Valley,
and
okay.
they
That
have,
run the
I can't
expo.
think of the name of the organization right now, but they work with all the superintendents in the valley and beyond. Because she has a work training program,
Right,
but they also work with them to do funding for the schools, to help the schools
yeah,
in different ways.
because there is a funding, and
Yeah.
grants, but this, you know, the schools have to pursue them, you know, to
Right.
get them.
Right,
Yeah, but that's something to think about for Robin to,
yeah, you get a
Reach out
hold of
to
them at, she
Yeah.
can, they have an organization right there in the
yes, they
chamber.
do, yeah, Linwood Mill area, I
Yeah,
believe, yes.
but they haven't, there's a lady right there that
Yeah.
works with all the schools. It's, I forget what they call it now, but it's an organization made up with, where they meet with all the superintendents.
Then you also have the Blackstone, what's it, the vocational school
Yes,
there.
Yeah,
And
he-
that's an older group.
yeah,
But-
Dr. Fitzpatrick was here on my show a couple
Yeah.
weeks ago. Because he wanted to get Northbridge to pass his article on town meeting warrant, because they need a new roof. But, yeah,
We need fundraisers.
you're right. Like I say, everybody's
need a
got,
home.
you know, everybody
We
needs
need a
money.
home.
You know, NAMI needs a home.
That's
Now he
right.
needs a home. There again, you know, they might be able to help you find a place.
Maybe.
I would talk to Jeannie, she could.
I should also go down to the Worcester Chamber of Commerce.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
absolutely.
I think Tim Murray is the head of that.
yeah, Tim Murray is the president
Yeah.
Yeah,
of Worcester Chamber. The Blackstone Valley is affiliated with them,
yeah.
Yeah.
they're part of it. No, I'm getting the, we've gotta go.
All right.
Thank
Please,
you for having us.
Thank you
Yeah,
for coming
thank you,
in.
yes. Yeah.
And if you've got something coming up, and you give me a call and we'll announce it.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely.
Very good.
Yeah,
All right,
we can reach
Very
you.
good.
Absolutely, thank you.
and we'll be back next week with a group that's coming here to do fundraising, the Whiten Community Center.